Thank you so much, Marshall, and hello, everyone. Today is December 10th, 2025. This is the Wednesday CalPADS Q&A, and my name is Matt Clark. I'm a data governance administrator at Census, supporting CalPADS, and I'll be hosting the Q&A today. Driving documentation for us is Gary Gerwer. In terms of announcements, the certification deadline for the Fall 1 data collection in CalPADS is this Friday, December 12th, 2025. This is the date by which LEA approval is required and SELPA approval is strongly encouraged. The CDE sent out a Fall 1 deadline reminder and county certification reports email to LEAs on Tuesday, December 9th. That was yesterday. And in that email, the importance of the Friday deadline was emphasized, as data that is LEA approved by the December 12th deadline is used to inform the P1 LCFF apportionment, as well as special education monitoring determinations. That email additionally included information and links to the new CalPADS County certification reports. These reports can now be found in the quick links portion on the CDE CalPADS web pages, and we will place a link to the new county certification reports in chat here as well. And that is it for my announcements. Angela, any announcements on known issues, defects, or deployments to share today?
Nothing to add today because we did not do a deployment yesterday. We don't like to do those during deadline weeks. So the next deployment will be the following Tuesday.
All right. And Sean, Dominic, CDE folks, any announcements?
Only the announcement that SunBucks data will be pulled as of 12/31. And I believe it was in the last digest message that information went out.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And Dominic.
I just wanted to remind folks who might be working on their data anomalies to please do not let working on those anomalies impede your ability to be LEA approved by Friday. Of course, if there are data corrections to be done, that's an important thing to do. But for the anomalies, it's more important that you are LEA approved by Friday. Additionally, the incredible Marshall Isbell has finished with the private school webinar recording, and that is now available on the CSIS YouTube channel. And I just dropped that into the chat. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you so much, Dominic. And let's go ahead and jump into the questions here. So first we have a Q1 from Sue Ann at 3 o'clock. We have a high school teacher assigned to ELD classes with 100% FTE. She's also the EL coordinator at the district, responsible for testing all EL students. How would this teacher's EL coordinator position be reported in CalPADS? What should be the staff job classification code for this position? Should she also have a non-classroom based job assignment for her English learner coordinator position, and what code?
So the teacher should be reported as preferably as a 12, and with the students listed for the EL course that she's providing services to. If not, if the students are not included, she can be listed as a 27 and itinerant. She should be listed with her non-classroom based job assignment as well, and the appropriate FTEs for each position distributed out. For that FTE, you need to contact your HR department.
And she has the follow-up of which non-classroom based job assignment code should be used for the English learner coordinator position at the district.
The LEA should review the locally created job description and compare it to their local definition and compare it to the CalPADS definitions for non-classroom based assignments. I can't determine exactly which code because I'm not privy to the local job description that's created. That guidance was provided in the October, 24th CalPADS Digest. The full steps are delineated out there.
All right. Thank you, Sean. All right, next we have a Q1 from Jaime at 301. I have not certified my Fall 1 yet because the Title 1 Part C migrant counts are off by 1 student as of the MEPS file today. I assume that my issue will be resolved when the next MEP file is ready in CalPads, but I assume it will not be ready until after the December 12th deadline. In the meantime, if I certify Fall 1 with the 117 numbers as is right now, I can recertify during the amendment window, correct? Fingers crossed that my numbers are accurate after the next MEPS file. I also realize that there is an active issue regarding reports 1.1 and 1.17. That is problem number 7320. And I just want to make sure that the data is accurate. Thank you. So speaking to the bottom paragraph, if you will not have accurate data in report 1.17 before the deadline, if it's off by a single student only, I would recommend certifying the data on Friday, but then decertifying and recertifying during the amendment window when you are confident that those numbers are accurate.
And I did send your MEPS ticket up to CDE. They have access to that file that on the back end that we don't have access to here on the service desk. So it's in their court.
And that issue 7320 is in a resolved state. It's in testing right now. So it should potentially go in the next build next week.
All right. Thank you, Gary and Angela. And thank you, Jaime, for the question. Next, we have a Q1 from Nicole at 303. Can the staff assignment file be used, or the student absence summary file, I'm sorry, be used to upload attendance recovery days yet? And if so, is there a real-time report for that? I'm trying to find an easy way to get my CBO data for her P1.
The file isn't available for upload yet. It won't be available until end of year. And we'll review that information once available in one of the regionals, March or May, possibly.
So the student absence summary, Nicole, is a file that is submitted in the new end of year 1. And so we wouldn't be submitting that file just yet. An easy way to get your CBO data for the P1 apportionment. I would ensure that your CBO is reviewing report 1.17, as that's the most pertinent report for the P1 apportionment. The unduplicated pupil count from report 1.17 is used for those calculations. For attendance recovery for the P1, if they are considering attendance recovery, they would be considering it from the attendance recovery days that were included in the last academic year rather than the 25-26 year. Does anybody have anything to add?
No, you're correct, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Nicole, for the question. All right, next we have a Q1 from Terry at 303. Perkins recently removed the 300 hours requirement to be a CTE completer. Our question is, do the students get 5 credits only for that year-long course? For example, 180 hours. That is now within 1 semester, 90 hours, or should they get the 10 credits because they are being taught the year-long standards within 1 semester?
The Perkins question, and they should email the Perkins office to best assist with that. Also, please note, Terry, that they didn't recently remove the hours. That was a finding about 2 years ago that they had, 2 or 3 years ago now, that they had publicly posted and advised LEAs to be able to do so as well.
Sean, it seems to me that it's more of a local decision in how it relates to the Carnegie unit, right? So if 10 credits is 1 Carnegie unit, then report that. But if it's 5, we can't prescribe. CalPADS doesn't prescribe how local units are identified, right?
We don't, but since I don't see it as Carnegie units, I see it as CTE units. And so so the reason why I wanted them to email Perkins is because I don't know I don't know what information is collected for their grant and funding for it. And so they would need to determine if that's like information that's provided separately to them or not, because I don't recall. Does that make sense, Angela?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. And Terry says she'll email Perkins for clarification. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Angela, and thank you, Terry, for the question. Next, we have a Q1 from Lily at 3:05. This one's for Dominic. Can you remind us how to document a special education student who is parentally placed at private school and who is appearing as overdue a plan review in CalPADS? The parents are not interested in having an annual and is now not required, but the student is showing on the overdue meetings in report 16.21. We had an annual last year and that's been reported, but how do we document the lack of meeting this year?
What you want to do this year and any subsequent years where it's the same situation is to add a meet record with a pending as of date that is within the timeline, and you can use delay code. I want to say 20. Parent did not make child available. I should have opened the code sets before I started talking. But as long as there's a valid delay code with that pending record, the timeline will be compliant.
All right. Thank you, Dominic, and thank you, Lily, for the question. Next, we have a Q1 from Angela at 3:05. Since SELPA approval is not required by the December 12th deadline, if a SELPA does not approve Fall 1 reports by the December 12th deadline, will the certification status change from uncertified to certified by or on the 12th? No, it will not read certified until we have both LEA and SELPA approval, but the certification status will read LEA approved if we have LEA approval without SELPA approval on that certification status screen. All right. Thank you, Angela. All right, next we have a Q1 from Selena at 3:07, and this one is for you again, Dominic. Sorry, I need clarification. What special education data will be pulled on December 12th? Is it just ethnicity and timelines for report 16.21?
So we'll be pulling the timelines, looking at students that were enrolled, eligible, and participating on Census Day, whose plan review or reevaluation timelines were overdue on Census Day and still overdue on the 12th. Additionally, we're pulling the disproportionality data, which is also used in the single year significant disproportionality calculation. And I believe that is everything that is being pulled on or as of that. I think the program setting data is used in next fall or for the next ADL. So the ADL that comes out this January will be using last year's certified Fall 1 program setting data.
All right. Thank you, Dominic. And thank you, Selena, for the question. Next, we have a Q1 from Larney at 3:07. For homeless students who were added as of Census Day, are included in Fall 1 for LCFF funding. What about those who were added after Census Day? Do we miss out on funding for them, or will we get funding for them next year? So they need to be they need to have the homeless program record submitted to CalPADS, which overlaps Census Day in order to be included in LCFF funding based on Fall 1 of this academic year. So they won't be included if they're added after Census Day for this round. But the question is, will they get funding for them next year?
If they're still homeless next year.
I believe the funding next year will be based on what is accurate as of Census Day in the 26-27 academic year. So if they have a homeless program record that overlaps Census Day in the 26-27 academic year, then you will receive funding for them. But if the homeless record does not overlap Census Day this year, or next academic year, then it would, I think, be considered a loss of funding for that student.
You're correct, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Gary, as well as Larnie for the question. All right, next we have a Q1 from Carla. We had a student who was coded as an N470, a no-show for the current academic year. We later learned the student had moved out of the country, so we updated their prior year exit code to a T240, transferred out of state or out of country exit code. Recently, we received information from the CDE California Proficiency Program Office that the student earned their high set in September. Should the high set outcome be reported under last school year's enrollment, even though the student was not enrolled with us during the current year? What's the correct way to do this?
No, the high set information wouldn't be reported at all for your LEA. The student would have needed to be enrolled with your LEA when exiting the student out and reporting the high set. So basically, you've received it and it's informational purposes only for you, Carla. You know about it, great. But there's nothing that your LEA can provide for the student. They've received what they need from taking the exam.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Carla, for the question. All right, Larnie, we'll get right back to your Q2. And we do have a Q1 from Cindy at 316. My SELPA is asking why Fall 1 approval is strongly encouraged and not required for the SELPA. It seems from what I'm hearing that special education data will be included in December 12th reporting.
I don't know if I have a specific answer to this, but I do know that SELPA approval by Fall 1 requiring that was a very tight timeline, and there was a lot of pushback. But it's been since that decision was made, it was made before I was part of CDE.
Yeah,
so
I think it was kind of a concession. You know, the transitioning SPED into CalPADS was difficult for everybody. And this is a really high stakes deadline in that it impacts your P1 funding data. So this is sort of like a tweener that, okay, so for the initial deadline, you don't have to be SELPA approved because then that gives your SELPA more time to look at the data before they actually stamp it as approved. That said, more LEAs SELPA approve on this deadline than LEA approve. So most opt to have their SELPA approve it, but it doesn't matter either way. If you are LEA approved, you are quote unquote certified for that first deadline.
All right. Thank you, Angela, Dominic, and Cindy for the question there. I'll now move on to Larnie's Q2, which is currently the last question in the Q&A box, but it is 3:20 during certification week. So if you have any questions, please do get those in the Q&A box as soon as you can so that we can provide any guidance and support that we're able to for you guys. That being said, let's go into Larnie's Q2 at 3:13. If we imported a UBA file for SunBucks into EDCS in September and then uploaded another one in October, does the October upload overwrite the students from September, or are the October students added to the existing students from the September upload? Basically asking if this is a full replacement upload. And it looks like they are. So Gary has pulled the key points to remember from the SunBucks data collection. And it does say that the SunBucks files are full replacement. And so when you upload the October file, it will overwrite the September file. So make sure that all of your students are included in every SSBC file that you upload to EDCS. And thank you for locating that guidance, Gary.
Sure. I got lucky.
All right, and we did get another Q1 again, please get those questions in the Q&A box. Now we have a Q1 from Tanya at 321. I need clarification regarding foster student status for reporting. My understanding is that all foster students are considered direct certification. If that is the case, why does the report 1.17 list foster students where the direct cert column indicates they are not directly certified? Will these students get the summer EBT automatically?
I'm sorry, I'm not reading the question.
All right.
It's the foster question.
Yes, it is Tanya at 321, the question about foster students and direct certification.
Foster students are not necessarily considered direct certification. So foster students appear on the foster youth match list. They're included on the 1.17 and they're listed as foster for your LCFF counts. Districts and LEAs should extend a 181 free record to foster students. However, that is done in your local processes. A foster student may be considered both foster youth and direct cert if CDSS has received the necessary information to consider that child within the direct cert file. So Tanya, I think you're conflating the two items, basically. They're separate and they should be viewed separately. And so, and extending benefits should be provided if needed. And where it talks about best for who to extend direct certification benefits to is located on the CDE webpage, the new CDE Nutrition Services webpage. Give me a second and I'll post that in your answer here.
All right. And the report mapping guides for report 1.17 show the criteria for inclusion in both the foster youth column and the direct certification column. And they are different criteria. In particular, the foster youth has more robust criteria for inclusion in that column. And so it may be the case that they are mismatched based on the criteria used to calculate the report.
Let me know when you're ready, Matt, because I realize if I put it in there, it's going to disappear the question.
I just hit done, so it might now be in the answer tab, Sean. Sorry about that.
No worries. It's okay. I understand.
All right. I will move on though to a Q1 from Lisa at 322. Who would be the teacher of record for a student with a TA period in the office? My counselor is putting in an office secretary, and I know that this isn't correct. Putting in an office secretary does seem to me that it would cause issues and errors in CalPADS because we would expect the teacher of record to have a teacher job classification code, and an office secretary does not typically have a teacher job classification code.
They also have to have a full teaching credential.
Yes. Okay. So what did Gary pull up here?
This is maybe even not even related, but they're not even required for teacher or student assistants. They may, but are not required to report that. So they might not even need to put a teacher.
So if it is causing you issues, it's optional to report the TA course to CalPADS. And then we did get some answers from other LEAs in chat. So Laura at 326 suggests if a counselor has a teaching credential, that's acceptable. If not, you could use the principal or vice principal. And Lori at 327 says if the student is earning credit for the course, they should have a certificated teacher in the teacher of record position. If not earning credit, reporting the course is optional. And I think that is a more nuanced way of stating the point that the course reporting for TA courses is optional. All right. Thank you, Gary, Laura, Lori, and Lisa for the question there. We got quite an alliterative thread in the Q&A today. All right, Angelo, we will get right back to your Q2 once we finish up the Q1s here. We have a Q1 from Shelley at 324. Should we send records for next summer as well as the past summer? For next summer as well as the past summer in one SunBucks file? Or do we wait to send next summer's record after the December upload deadline? My intuition would be to wait until after the December deadline, but I'm trying to consult some documentation to confirm.
I don't understand the question, Shelley. She said, do we send records for the next summer as well as the past summer?
So if she's uploading a SunBucks file right now, would she include both summer 2025 and summer 2026 in that file? Or would she wait until after December to report the summer 2026 students? It says UBAs received after September 29th, 2025, or September 2nd.
You can't receive ones after. Sorry, Shelley, I'm trying to follow your question. UBA is received after 9/2. So yeah, so if they were received after 9/2, then you're reporting them. We haven't provided guidance for it just yet. Shelley, I think that's the ultimate answer to your question. We haven't provided the guidance for the following year next just yet. Will we provide guidance? Yes. Yes, we will. If they're received after 9/2, then yes, you're going to report them. And I think that takes away the portion of your summer. I think that clarifies the portion of your summer. So will you be reporting them for the ones that you received after 9/2 because you didn't receive them prior to 9/2 to be able to submit and review all of them and go through that process? Understood. But will you be able to submit that information? Yes, you will be.
And I think Amber's response in the Q&A in that question in the Q&A box is also helpful, that you're not able to upload it if it was signed after 9/2, so you'll need to wait until after, at least after the December deadline.
That's correct. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. All right, next we have a Q1 from Anne at 324. I've asked this question multiple times before, but I need clarification again. For Title III immigrants, the start date would include preschool, correct? But for U.S. school less than 3 years, it should only count the school years since the student started TK, K, or above, correct? So U.S. school less than 3 years is used to exempt students from the CASP ELA. Is this also correct? So I guess we can take these questions one at a time. For Title III eligible immigrants, the start date should include preschool. Is that correct? And Gary's got the CFS pulled up with both the enrolled in U.S. school less than 3 cumulative years and the student initial U.S. school enrollment date. So I believe the answer to your first question for Title III eligible immigrants, the start date should include preschool. That is correct. But for enrolled in a U.S. school less than 3 academic years, it should only count the school years since the student started, and I'll just summarize by saying at least TK. And that also appears to be correct with the initial U.S. school enrollment date in the CFS there. It captures schooling in grades TK through 12. So that is a yes as well. And then US for enrolled in US less than 3 cumulative years. This is used to exempt students from CASP ELA. Is that correct?
No. The student initial U.S. school enrollment date is used, I believe, for CAS. The enrolled in U.S. less than 3 years is used to identify eligible immigrants. I think that's in the dashboard handbook.
All right. And it looks like Angela also provided a helpful link in the user manual for the Title III eligible immigrant subgroups. So thank you, Nate, Angela, Shelley, and thank you, Anne, for the question there. Let's go ahead and move on to Asia's Q1 at 324. Just to confirm, LEA approval is the only thing required for the December 12th deadline. Is that correct? Oh, I think that the word only in that sentence may minimize things. LEA approval is definitely required by December 12th. SELPA approval is strongly encouraged. It is not required, but the reason that it is strongly encouraged is that there is special education data from December 12th. Specifically LEA approved data on December 12th that is used for special education monitoring determinations. And so for that reason, we strongly encourage SELPA approval, but LEA approval is the only strict requirement for the December 12th date. All right. And looks like looks like Gary answered one of the Q1s there in the chat, and I think that was a good answer. So Susan at 333 had a Q1. I noticed an option in the SPRG dropdown for free and reduced price meal program, program 175. Can you please clarify when this code should be used instead of 181 or 182? And Gary responded that the program code 175 is an old code that was retired several years ago. So it would never be appropriate to use program code 175 this academic year.
I would add to that, because somebody's thinking it, we get this question every once in a while, is why do we have the old retired codes in the drop downs? And the reason is because we allow people to go back and edit historical data. So those codes, retired codes, still need to be in the drop downs.
All right. Thank you, Angela. And thank you, Gary. All right, next we have a Q2 from a different Angela, Angela Mata at 323. Follow up to Larney's Q1. If the homeless student has a 181 or 182 FRPM program record, would the student possibly be counted, depending on the date, in the LCFF funding counts, since SPRG data used for FRPM are selected from 181 and 182 program codes, with membership start dates occurring between 7/1 and 10/31 of the reporting year?
Oh, yes, Angela, that's what I mentioned, is that if the student is, never mind, this has to do with, your situation is similar to the foster question that was asked. And so if a student meets those eligibility requirements, that's a local determination. And so LEAs need to be able to document and process that information locally. So then therefore you're extending the correct program information to the students. So the answer to your question is yes, but that local process needs to be codified.
And I would add that this is a nuance with the October 31st date for National School Lunch Program reporting. For most of the LCFF determinations in Report 1.17, Census Day is the relevant date for cutoff. But for the NSLP program, it is October 31st. And that is just a reporting nuance with regards to the National School Lunch Program and the October 31st.
Thank you, Matt, for highlighting that. And I think that it's identified. What you just stated is identified in one of the flashes too. I don't recall which one, I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Angela, for the question there. All right, next we have, Larnie, we're going to get back to your Q3 in just a moment here. We have a Q1 from Clarissa at 337. What is STEM staff service years LEA and total data points used for in accountability and other monitoring programs? So the total years and staff service years at the LEA are used to calculate specifically inexperienced teachers at the state and federal level. And the total service years would be the more relevant date for the inexperienced teachers determination. I don't know if anyone has other calculations that use those two fields.
No, you're correct. And we're required to report that information for what, as Matt stated, for ineffective teachers and what's called your TAMO data. So that's why we're required to be able to collect that information and report it to the feds.
Right. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Clarissa.
And
now we have
a question. I think it's this year we're getting more strict about those two fields, right? We're validating those more closely now, starting this year.
That's
specifically
correct.
Specifically for TAMO, right?
They did it actually last year.
Oh, it was last year? Okay.
Yeah, last year was the first year, Angela. And so, because one of them, it used to be called, instead of ineffective, it used to be called, there was another word for it. I'm sorry. I just don't readily recall. Anyway,
inexperienced, right?
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Inexperienced and ineffective. And so those definitions had the update. And so that's where that terminology had the update. And so that's why it was reported last year as the first year. Many LEAs, CTC did note that it was, many LEAs have gotten a lot better at this in reporting. And so data is starting to look up in that area.
Right. Thank you, Sean and Angela. All right. We have a Q1 from Carol Evans at 338, but it just reads, I have a student showing up on report 16.25. So I believe there may be something hanging from that off of that should be a part of the question. So if you'd like to elaborate, please do, Carol. I'll go ahead and move on to Lori's Q1 at 340. How are the STEM service years LEA and service years total being validated? In other words, what are the data checks and verifications done? I believe that's a follow-up from your point, Angela.
Yeah, and I don't have that document up in front of me. Maybe we can come back to that in a minute.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back to you, Lori. All right, moving on to Larnie's Q3 at 326. This is probably for both the SPED and CalPADS teams. Could we get some guidance on what information should be included on the enrollment application when assessing private school special education students? Would we be using the same application and collecting the same data points as we do for students who will be primarily enrolled with us? It's challenging to justify to private school parents why we are requesting so much information when they are only enrolling for the purposes of receiving special education services.
I might be referring to something that's a bit old, but from Brandy's 2023 creating and maintaining SSIDs for students with disabilities, she lists the minimum data required to create an SSID in CalPADS. And outside of a lot of school information, it's student first name, student last name, student birth date, and student gender code. Those are the only data elements that seem to or would need to come from the family describing their student. She also notes a demographic profile must be created to view the students in snapshot reports, but the inability to obtain a full demographic profile should not impede creation of an SSID needed to submit SPED files to CALPADS.
Right. Thank you, Dominic.
And
And then Chris
sorry.
has a, oh,
Oh.
go ahead, Alex.
If I could just add, I posted the FAQ. We have an FAQ on what Dominic just read on the minimal data elements needed.
All right. Thank you for posting that in chat, Alex. And then
Yeah,
Chris.
I posted for Lori the TAMO reports.
Thank you, Sean. All right. Chris has a follow-up comment to blame the feds for the data that you need to collect from those private school students. All right. Angela, are we ready with the documentation for Lori's question? It is the final question that we have enough information for. No, we have another Q1. I'll buy you some time. So Carol Evans.
Sorry, Matt, that's what I was saying. I'll post it in the question now to clear it.
Oh, for the how are those fields being validated?
For TAMO and for Pete. Put them both in there.
Okay. I think it would be worth reading it aloud for folks because these are relevant.
You want to bring up the links? Yeah.
Okay, it's up on the screen. I'm not sure where I'm looking, though.
Okay, so the question was, how are the STEM service years, LEA and service years total field? Oh no, sorry. How are those fields being validated? In other words, what are the data checks and verifications done? Can you just Control F for service years?
Nope.
Oh,
Sure.
oh no.
Service assignments.
I found one that
That's
was
it.
added last year. I think that's probably what Lori was getting at is, what's changed. It's a warning that the staff years total can't be greater than age minus 17. So just sort of a quality check there.
Oh, it's under incomplete. It details out like the definition there for incomplete.
Here.
Right, and Rebecca provided some additional guidance on the use of those fields for to calculate experienced and inexperienced teachers based on ESSA. All right. Are we ready to move on to Carol Evans Q1 at 3:38? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on here. So Q1 from Carol Evans at 3:38. I have a student showing up on report 16.25. Received parent consent on 5/28/25. The school started on 8/14/25, and the initial IEP was scheduled for 9/10/25. The IEP initial entry date was 10/7/25. Not sure why the delay from the provider's perspective. There was a meeting delay for school break for the summer. Please explain the dates and why over 60.
I'm not sure I can explain the dates. Those are the dates that are reported in the meet record. But consent on 5/28 and holding the meeting on 9/10 is well over the 60-day timeline. But you have the delay code, so it is compliant. There doesn't appear to be any issues with this record at all. If you're wondering why the student's appearing on the report, every Part B initial that you hold will appear on that report based on the as of day and month.
All right. Thank you, Dominic. And Carol says thank you as well. All right, next we have a Q1 from Madison at 3:45. We had overdue plan reviews that were non-compliant. We put in pending meet records and then pulled the 1621 again, and the monitoring category now shows overdue plan review, pending record, but the non-compliant field still indicates yes or why. Why is this, and will it affect it? Will it affect if we certify our data for fall one with it like this?
I guess the question is, are there valid delay codes on those pending meet records? Because if it's just a pending meet record and the timeline has elapsed, it is still overdue and non-compliant. That said, certifying fall one doesn't certify meet data. So you can certify your submission, and then if you have further data to post for these meetings, as long as that is posted by end of day on the 12th, that should bring those records into compliance, provided that you do have a valid delay code.
Right. Thank you, Dominic, and thank you, Madison. Next, not quite a question, but Jan provided the 3 validations for the staff service years LEA. So it must be less than or equal to the total staff service years. It must be less than or equal to staff age minus 17, and it must be equal to or greater than 1. So thank you, Jan. Love the vendor research perspective there. All right, next we have a Q1 from Claudia at 3:48. Does Gen Ed participation percentage impact the data being pulled on the 12th? If a school is LEA approved and needs to update the Gen Ed participation, should they wait to make the update during the amendment window?
If they can, that's fine. My understanding is that just like program setting, data for indicators 5 and 6, while it is part of the fall one submission, it will impact, or it will be part of your indicators for the following annual determination letter. And so as long as it's correct by the end of the amendment window, then you'll be fine.
All right. Thank you, Dominic and Claudia, for the question. Moving on to Madison's Q2 at 3:49. Running off of the first questions, the meetings were held timely, they just weren't affirmed. Should I build, plan, and serve records into CalPads to avoid noncompliance?
No, plan and serve records don't have any impact on timeline compliance. If the meetings were held on time and just not affirmed, if you're still speaking about the records in your first question, you stated those were overdue. So, okay. Then you should, instead of adding a pending record, you should just add a meeting record for these meetings. Even if it's not affirmed, just go ahead and add a meet record to reflect the meeting that was held, and don't bother with the pending record. The only reason you would send a pending record is to explain missing a timeline for an overdue or for a Part B initial once you have consent. But for meetings that have been held, just make sure the meeting record is there, whether that has to come from your special education data system or whether that is posted manually in online maintenance. You would not want to use a pending meeting record for that scenario where the meeting has been held.
All right. Thank you, Dominic, and thank you, Madison. Next, we have a question from Sama at 3:51. Can you clarify if certified data is being pulled for the upcoming annual determination letter on December 12th, or is this ADL using last year's data?
Both. For this year, it's using your current timelines and the disproportionality calculations. It uses certified end of year 3 data for discipline disproportionality and certified fall 1 data from last year for indicators 5 and 6, your program settings. It would also use end of year timeline data for your Part B initial and your CDB transitions. So it's a mix.
All right. Thank you, Dominic and Sama. And that does bring us to the end of the questions. We do still have 8 minutes left, so if you have a question, please do get it into the Q&A box. I don't have a question, but a note of admiration for Gary's sweater. I love the sweater, Gary.
Thanks.
All right, and this was in the chat box, but I'll go ahead and read it aloud because I saw it. If you do have a question, please place it in the Q&A box. But Lisa has a clarifying question in the chat box at 3:52. Dominic, is the information you just shared about where the annual determination letter data comes from documented anywhere?
Trying to pull that up right now.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun on you.
No worries. Slow computer. I didn't think you were going to wait for me. We do have the documentation from system improvement leads on the indicators, and that talks about the data sources and when they're pulled. And the only thing that wouldn't be included in that is the timelines, and those are going to be live data as of the LEA approval deadline. I'm trying to find the link to the box site so I can drop that into the chat, so you have access to that documentation. Or you can also visit systemimprovements.org or systemimprovement-leads.org. I always get that wrong.
All right. And the only reason I was waiting for you was because we don't have any further questions to move on to. So I think
That's fair.
I think we're about ready to close it up here. All right. Thank you, Milo.
I think it's this one, Dominic.
Yep, that's it. Thanks, Milo.
You're welcome.
And then here's the System Improvements website as well.
Right. Just going to give you guys a little bit of time to click those links before we go ahead and close the meeting out. All right, Angela, what do you think?
I say we call it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending the Wednesday CalPADS Q&A. Good luck on certification by December 12th. It looks like things are looking pretty optimistic as of right now, but I don't want to jinx us. So good luck, everybody. We are here to support for anything you need, and we will see you next Wednesday.